You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Wisdom Wednesday, presented, of course, as always, by DraftKings. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years, classic journeyman. Thank goodness, because it enabled me to get the broadcasting gigs on TV with CBS and on the radio with Westwood One. I'm already sad, by the way. I won't be part of a game broadcast again until the Eagles preseason in August. But it was a heck of a ride, and the podcasts, they don't stop. We are year-round here on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. We'll go to 3 times a week starting after the Super Bowl. But all the other shows, Fantasy Feast, Even Money, College Draft, Business of Sports, they stay weekly. News Spread the Word winner on Friday, sponsor confirmation email winner on Friday, YouTube shout-out winner on Friday, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Love those of you that subscribe and make the comment over there. Patron of the day, still racking them up, Sam Spaguzza. Welcome to the family, Sam. Patreon.com/RT Media. And also, welcome Ryan Leaf. Very excited to talk to Ryan. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
What a cool guest that we have for you today on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Got a chance to work with him really for the first time in the divisional round when the Ravens hosted the Houston Texans. He did an excellent job on the sideline for Westwood One. And he's rivaling me at this point, I feel like, for at least the volume of gigs that he has in the media. Of course, a lot of you are familiar with him from his college NFL career. I'm talking about Ryan Leaf. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate it.
You bet, buddy. It was great to get a chance to work with you. I've watched you from afar, and I've seen your hustle, and it's just, I think it's probably been a bit motivating to try to do everything and anything I can and do the best that I can be.
I think it's key, man. I like versatility, and I also like having several different employers, because the way this thing goes, you can lose one or gain one at any moment. So I'd rather have it that way. What I say is I have a diversified media portfolio. It's great if you get one of those big gigs at NFL Network or ESPN until they don't want you anymore. And
that could happen any minute. Yeah. And I'm with you. You have different income strains. You always feel comfortable. And also, when it's all said and done, if everybody's willing to work with you, at no point is anybody going to go, well, why would we hire this guy? No one's ever wanted to work with him. Well, everybody's wanted to work with us. So you're doing the right thing. You're going to get somebody who's going to work really hard and do the best possible job they can.
Highly encourage everybody to check Ryan out on social media at Ryan D. Leaf. Obviously, he's doing a lot of stuff in the media. Also, of course, an outstanding speaker. For people that are curious, Ryan, I always like to start there. Where are you living? What's going on in your life, and let everybody know all the things you are up to in the media.
We moved to the East Coast. We moved to Connecticut in August of 2022. I was, gratefully offered a television show, which you see our lovely studio here, with PointsBet Sportsbook. And we got to kind of, hang our own shingle in a sorts and built our own show called The Straight Line with Ryan Leaf. And it's been amazing. It's been really amazing. I never used public transit growing up in Montana and then living in Los Angeles and everything. You're always driving. And so I've romanticized it a little bit, but I get on the train. I take the train into Manhattan. The studio's right here in Manhattan next to the World Trade Center, right where I film Good Morning Football as well with the NFL Network. So it's worked out really well for me. We were able to buy a house that had some land to it, so our kids can run around and enjoy some space like I did growing up. We have a 6-year-old boy, and we just had a little baby girl named Claiborne about 8 weeks ago, and she's doing great. She's growing, and mom's great. I'm pretty amazed at what this life continues to give me, and so I think that's why I work so hard. Sirius XM NFL Radio. I do weekly shows there or multiple shows a week. The Good Morning Football deal. My work here with PointsBet. That may change, of course, with the sale to Fanatics, which was a pretty big deal for PointsBet. They did a heck of a job putting themselves in that position. I am the program ambassador in recovery for the Menninger Clinic, one of the most state-of-the-art psychiatric and substance abuse disorder facilities down in Houston, Texas. That is one of my one of the things I'm most proud of out of all the jobs that I have. Westwood One with you. I do analyst work on college football games as well as NFL games and dipped my toe into the sideline reporting aspect of things over the final 2 weeks of the season there in the playoffs for me, and I really enjoyed that. And so, yeah, there's just a lot going on for me. I'm the CEO and president of a company my wife and I started, a consulting business and production company called RAM Consultant Inc. And with that, I consult all over the country, usually around 5 programs a year at the college football level with the coaches and the players, as well as Fortune 500s, and all over the country, doing speaking gigs and consulting, as well as producing content, documentaries, and and feature films. So, I leapt into it. I would probably argue that I didn't work hard enough when I should have when I was a player. Ironically, it took some life lessons to figure it out and not take anything for granted again. And sometimes humbling that way is what motivates. And me at 47 is certainly a better version of me than there ever was. And I hope to continue with that.
That is awesome. And I definitely want to get into a lot of that stuff with you later. But I absolutely want to get your thoughts on what's going on in the NFL world in particular right now. And I want to start actually, Ryan, with Brock Purdy, because I think it's really interesting. I went on a show and they used the term draftism to talk about, the perception of Purdy. And I feel like you sort of would understand that maybe on the other side. Yeah. The number of opportunities you got because you were such a highly touted prospect, because you were so gifted, because you were drafted so high. Whereas it feels like for Purdy, it's like because he was Mr. Irrelevant, people are going to remain skeptical for a while until he really has so much success that they just can't anymore. The other thing I talk about too, Ryan, is he doesn't have that many plays that are sort of highlight-worthy social media. It's not like it's Josh Allen out there throwing howitzers or running over linebackers. I'm just curious, now that you have a lot of perspective after your time as a player and as a broadcaster, your thoughts on Brock Purdy as a player.
I think he's amazing. I think he's elite. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in this league. I'm sick and tired of having the argument. I'm done with it. I don't argue the point anymore. If you want to come at me with, it's the scheme, it's the talent around him. I go, you're an idiot. You are an idiot. You have no idea what the hell you're talking about. You do not know what football looks like. You don't know how difficult it is and what he's doing. And he is the catalyst of what they do. If you don't think what he did on Sunday with his feet and his arm aren't the reason why the 49ers are in the Super Bowl, then you don't know what you're watching. So I like that draftism part of it. There's so much truth, because you look around the league and all these scouts that exist out there, and they point to the fact that we had it right with him. It's not him. You could put anybody in this scheme with Kyle Shanahan and he would be having the same type of success. No, not at all. And it's just like mine. Like the fact that I was considered the first or second overall pick gave me multiple opportunities, but also, everybody was willing to give me another shot because, hey, we can't be wrong about this. We know what we saw. There's so much nuance to the quarterback position. What goes on between the ears, right, is I don't know, 85% of the deal. Your ability to throw the football can get better and better and better. And he's tried to get better and better and better ever since high school. And he's continued to do so. I don't know why, other than to that point. There is a draftism to it. There is. It's the fact that he was taken last and he was not scouted up the right way. If he was scouted up the right way, then he would have been taken much higher. If Brian Griese doesn't walk into his boss's office, John Lynch, and say, hey, if you have a chance to grab him, I would. So I compliment Brian Griese a ton, especially with what he had to navigate last year.
I didn't hear that story, Ryan. Is that what happened?
Yeah. Yeah, he was instrumental in the scouting process of Brock Purdy, and they reminded me a lot of each other too. So which makes sense. You know, Brian Griese, who I played against in the Rose Bowl, kind of Big Ten football-esque, run the football, and I think it's why he had such a long NFL career. Got an opportunity in Denver behind John Elway to learn and get better. Brock Purdy was forced into it a little bit, but the way Brian navigated that quarterback room, I thought was even better last year to allow for Brock Purdy to, when he got the opportunity, to make the most of it. When he stepped out of the booth and stepped into the microphone on the sideline, sometimes that's a difficult task to do, but I think it proves to the point how great a football mind that Brian Griese is and why he's trusted by Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch.
Ryan, let's also talk about Patrick Mahomes. I was on the sideline for the AFC Championship game on Sunday. And, man, I did not think we'd be having a conversation about a guy being maybe as good or better or whatever than Tom Brady this soon. I just didn't think we'd be having it. But certainly I think he's off to the best start of a career at age 28 that we've seen. From a quarterback's perspective, what impresses you the most? I think people see the really fancy stuff he does and the highlight stuff, but what jumps out to you when you watch Mahomes play?
I think he has no ego. I think that may be his biggest asset. He has zero ego because Andy Reid, essentially neutered him on Sunday. As a quarterback, we love to drop back, plant our foot, fire it down the field. And he just said, hey, this is how we're going to win. Do you want to go win a championship, or do you want to have flashy plays down the field? And that's changed a lot since Tyreek Hill left. The fact that he is egoless and he goes out and does what he was asked. 30 of 39, okay? And doesn't get to 300 yards, right? Everything was near or at the line of scrimmage. He allowed guys to make plays for him. Travis Kelce was his biggest, 11 targets, 11 catches. I just think the fact that he is just like, I'll do anything and everything for this team to win. We know that I can make the outrageous play. That's been confirmed over and over. But can I do what is needed every single time for us to be winners when it counts? And the leadership quality that he has, because he walked into Buffalo and he walked into Baltimore in two of the loudest venues with some of the most rabid fans, and there were no pre-snap penalties, and there were no miscommunications with all the noise. They were ready. They were ready for everybody making a big deal out of the fact that he had never been on the road in the playoffs, for them to go dominate in the fashion that they did against the Bills and then the Ravens. That lends to the leadership quality of what he has and the lack of ego.
I think they, and I talked with him and Andy Reid after the game, I think they liked it. I think they embraced it. I think they were glad that they could prove they could do that. Just like I'm glad every time I make it easy on myself and order in on DoorDash. Now I can watch the game, maybe root for my bets while my food and drinks are on the way. That means burgers, chips, dips, soda, pizza, wings, so much more delivered straight to my door. What about some of the teams that lost these games, in particular the guy that you saw in person a couple weeks ago, Lamar Jackson? Ryan, what was your biggest takeaway from the Ravens and Lamar Jackson? Now, you saw him in person when he had a great game and they won. You watched him on Sunday when the result was a lot different. What do you see when you watch him?
Well, I think the future of quarterback play in the NFL. I really do. I think that he's going to lead the charge of what it's going to look like. Whether that is using his legs when he needs to and doing it well from the pocket. Unfortunately, I think that the team that was the best football team in all the land all year long had a bad game, had a bunch of bad moments. Todd Monken had his worst game of the year in terms of calling plays. He did not go back to what worked for them the week before when they were struggling in the first half and go to that quick game that allowed for Lamar to get some completions and develop some confidence. He stayed with the drop back. The fact that they led the league in rushing and the two running backs only had 6 carries between them, that is absolutely moved off your identity by an opponent. And that can't happen. And it's not like it was, 31-7 or 24-7. It's not. The 49ers still found a way to commit to the running game when they were down 24-7. It just is, and their unwillingness to do that. I would say Mike McDonald had 2 bad series. I thought he called a hell of a game the rest of the game, but I thought the first 2 series he was overwhelmed with what Andy Reid was doing to him, and he got some matchups where I thought Kyle Hamilton versus Travis Kelce, with how the seasons went, I thought that was going to be a win for Kyle Hamilton. But when you got Patrick Mahomes putting the ball in the only spot where Travis can catch it, he makes the catch and gets him beat. After that, they played pretty darn good. Unfortunately, Spags took them out of everything that Todd Monken wanted to do. They made them feel completely uncomfortable and then start to make some really bad mistakes. Zay Flowers lost it, absolutely lost it down the stretch for them. Lamar as well. The throw in the end zone for the interception. I mean, there's no raving around it other than the guy in the middle of the 3 defenders in red. And it was second down. And so these are the things, and then defensive penalties that start to come. And that's on John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh has got to be ready to have these guys ready to play, like Andy Reid had the Chiefs over the last 2 weeks. It was a completely outcoached, outplayed football game from start to finish.
Ryan, what would you be thinking right now if you were Josh Allen? Because it feels like he almost played a perfect game, and they still just weren't able to do it. I think I said this on social media. I feel like if this were the NBA and it's not, Josh Allen, this would be the point where he would want to get traded to the Lakers, you know what I mean, or some other team, because he's just not able to get over the hump with his team. I adore the guy. I love watching him play football. I guess your thoughts on him, I mean, maybe they just need to get better around him. Maybe the defense was just too beat up to win that game.
I mean, the defense was beat up. It was incredibly beat up. And he had a couple opportunities, right, to make some plays. He had a chance to hit that touchdown if he was able to stabilize his feet a little bit better. I think if you asked him, should he make that throw, he would answer yes. Kickers. You can't define what kickers do. And kickers, unfortunately, in Buffalo have a storied history and not one that is pleasant to talk about. So he just got to keep doing what he's doing, right? He got his team to the second overall seed this year when everybody was throwing them away going into their bye at 6-6. Things are going to be okay. The only problem that's not going to be okay is the fact that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid still exist. And that is just the bigger issue. When times are tough and where things are on the line and where they get paid and where they eat, the Chiefs live. They live there, and unfortunately, my brother texted me after that game, said, man, poor Josh, as long as Patrick Mahomes is in the AFC, that poor guy's just not going to win. And that's where they're at right now. And that's why I wondered if there was going to be some sort of change that happens because, just doing the same thing over and over, even though I think maybe Sean McDermott had his best coaching year of his career, especially what he did with the defense, with all those injuries and everything. I don't know if just kind of coming back with the same old is beneficial for this team at all.
Check him out on social media at Ryan D. Leaf. Ryan, fantastic stuff. Can't wait to talk to you again soon to dive into your unique story individually a little bit more, hopefully this offseason. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
I have one question for you, and we didn't delve into it at all. You're Dan Campbell, and you're up 14 with a chance to go up 17 midway through the third quarter of the NFC Championship. You live by the sword, die by the sword mentality. What are you doing in that moment?
Yeah, I would have kicked the field goal there. I would have attempted the field goal there.
Yep.
Because I think even if you convert there and Reynolds catches the pass, there's still a pretty good chance you're attempting a field goal on that drive. And even if you get a touchdown, you're still only up 3 scores. In other words, the upside of being up 21 as opposed to 17 is not worth the downside of only being up 14 versus 17 in my mind. I'm fine with the decision. It's not what I would have done.
Right.
And I'm actually writing my column for the 33rd team this week. I'm very curious about the process. The second one I felt a little bit better about.
Because it felt a little more needed.
Yeah, well, even if they tie the game at that point, they can't stop the 49ers. So it's like you're tying it to then be trailing again. So really good question, Ryan. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
You bet, man. Thanks for having me on.
Heart disease is the #1 cause of death in the U.S. due to the often invisible risk factors. 1 in 5 heart attacks occur with no recognizable signs or warning. Moreover, having conditions such as diabetes or high blood pressure can increase your chance of a heart attack by up to 2x. With the big game upon us, heart attack risk can more than double when your home team is playing. We're encouraging all sports fans to learn about their personal heart risk factors so they can keep their hearts in the game. To help educate on those risks, Bayer Aspirin created the Bayer Aspirin Heart Risk Assessment Tool. The tool quickly assesses an individual's personal risk of developing cardiovascular disease so that they can discuss their heart health risk factors with a healthcare professional as part of an ongoing health management. Learn more and assess your risk factors at checkyourheartrisks.com.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, Ross. Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, he tells the Seahawks and Commanders that he's staying in Detroit another year, and Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick is doing the same. He gets a new deal in Houston.
This is very interesting, and I would say surprising, especially as it relates to Ben Johnson. You know, guys like Slowick, sometimes they think, you know what, let me do one more year so that I can maybe have my pick of jobs next year and be more ready for that. But Ben Johnson coming back to Detroit for a third year is really a stunner for me. He must have a lot of confidence in himself and that organization, because if things go the other way and they don't have a good year, you can go from hot to not quick, really quick. I am surprised that he did not capitalize on this. And I thought maybe, sometimes they just do this when they find out they're not going to get a job. But I think that sometimes they also do it. He did it evidently while the Commanders were on their way to meet with him, which is a little bit weird. Anyway, I thought for sure Ben Johnson would get a job. I thought there was a decent chance if he didn't, Slowick would get the job. I guess my big takeaway is not good for the Commanders because I really felt like they wanted at least one of those two guys.
A couple other coordinator news. Steelers, they hire former Falcons head coach Arthur Smith as their OC. Panthers hire 32-year-old Brad Idzik as their new OC. And the Bills promote Bobby Babich to defensive coordinator.
Don't know much about Bobby Babich other than I love alliteration. That's an awesome name. Brad Idzik, I met him when he was probably like 23, 24. Dad used to be the GM for the Jets. 32-year-old is young. And then Arthur Smith, I thought he was an excellent coordinator in Tennessee, which obviously is why he got the job that he got with the Atlanta Falcons as the head coach. Speaking of getting things, Jack, whether you're hosting game day or movie night, DiGiorno knows that planning a watch party on a budget isn't easy. You need the perfect setting, the perfect squad, and the perfect eats. Luckily, you're a game time mastermind, and you know that grabbing DiGiorno Classic Crust Pizza can bring home a dub because it's packed with half a pound of cheese, sauce, and other toppings and comes at an incredible price. Make the game-winning call and grab a DiGiorno Classic Crust Pizza from the grocery store today. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. It's also something that you need, something delicious to wash it down with. Anytime anybody asks me about Labatt Blue Light, it's like, dude, that's all we drank in Buffalo. We would eat wings. We would eat chicken fries, which I still miss. They were incredible. And the whole table for the offensive line and tight ends and Bledsoe would be Labatt Blue Lights. Be like the Bills. Drink Labatt Blue Lights with your friends. Live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York.
Kristen Juszczyk, the wife of the Niners fullback, she gets an NFL licensing deal.
Yeah, that's probably pretty good. That's probably a good way to make money, getting an NFL licensing deal. You know, Kyle, or Juice as they call him, I call him Kyle, he was on the show during the season. When was that, Jack? Do you remember?
That was like I feel like that was mid-late season, like around like week 8-ish.
Yeah, mid-season on some way he was on the show. Man, I love this. I love when, number one, when the wives can get involved in some way. And I love, number two, when a guy like Juszczyk is smart enough to capitalize on his career in the NFL and parlay it into something that will last much, much longer. That is the key. And that's what Juszczyk's doing, which I love. Speaking of love, myfrontpagestory.com. I'm telling you guys, just order it for a loved one. Send me the sponsor confirmation. I guarantee I'll send you a signed press pass or card or picture. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out to Delicious Pizza Boy Brewing, Sporticulture, HumanHeadNYC.com, SteakhouseSports.com, or BackOfficeScheduler.com.